Giles. Delighted to be chatting with you. Myself and Steve Evans here.
Hi, Giles. Good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Steve and Terry. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Cheers.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So you're in Seaford in Sussex, so I'm guessing it's nice as pie as it is here. Really sunny today there as well,
It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I live right on the coast. So most days, to be honest, even in the winter, I try and get down to the seafront for a bit of fresh air. I like to embrace the elements. But this time of year, I mean, it's just, yeah, I feel like I'm on the Algarve or something. It's a bit more shingly than the Algarve, but yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm on the coast as well, but obviously in the north, and on the Wirral and Mells there. So we have a little bit of wind from the Irish Sea, but other than that, it's really, really, really pleasant, as you can imagine. So yeah, but
yeah, we have a lot of wind down here. Actually, it's very windy. Seaford's got kind of almost like its own weather front. It's just it's kind of windy 24/7, but yeah, there's something quite pleasant about that though.
Okay, excellent.
Very nice. Yeah. Giles, you've got a huge social media following number, nearly 500,000 on Twitter. With this, plus the fame from the television appearances on shows like ITV's Good Morning and BBC Two's Eggheads, a judge on ITV's Share a Story, would you class yourself as an influencer, whatever that means?
Well, I kind of think we're all influencers. If we're online kind of putting out content, I think we're all influencing one another in some ways. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? I know where you're coming from, because obviously I've got a large social media following. So, I mean, I've never perceived myself as that. I mean, I feel like I'm just a creative freelancer. I just put my work out there. I tend to use social media, obviously, to connect with people. But it is kind of really to sort of talk about my work and show people my work. So, I mean, having said that, I do obviously I put out lots of posts about kindness and positivity and stuff as well. So, I guess, I guess we've all got our own little ways of, particularly as creatives, our own little brands and stuff online. But I've never perceived myself as being an influencer in any way.
Okay.
A very impressive 12-book title there, including children's fiction, adult novels, and non-fiction with your writing. I mean, that's not including what you've done for TV and that, So, but before we talk about them, what do you do to relax? And are you still involved with the music scene? Was it Little Ten, the band? Are you still involved with that? And is that part of your relaxing culture, or have you got other hobbies as well?
Well, I'm interested in so many different things. I'm really lucky that obviously a lot of the stuff I do that is my creative work is stuff that I also enjoy doing, in my spare time. But yeah, still playing music. I mean, yeah, Little Ten broke up a long time ago, but I still play with the drummer from that band. And I mean, I've got my guitar right next to me here. I mean, I try and do music as much as possible. I play with a couple of bands, play bass in one with a couple of other mates, and then I do a band called Burnt House. We put sort of a few bits out on Spotify and stuff. So yeah, no, music's still a big part of my life. And I do a radio show for Islington Radio, which I've just started doing recently, which I'm really loving. It's it's given an opportunity for me to sit and play songs that I really, really love. Just music that I like. I mean, I've always been into kind of alt rock, but I like all sorts of stuff really. But yeah, it's just that. So yeah. And then, like I said a minute ago, living on the coast, I get to go out for long walks and stuff by the sea, and yeah, I'm very lucky that I get the opportunity to do other things as well as the stuff that I enjoy doing for work.
What radio station is it you with? Did you say?
Yeah, so it's Islington Radio. Yeah, so they're an online. So they've got they've actually got so they kind of play out of a venue in London in the Angel in Islington. Yeah, and then upstairs is like where they've got the studio. I mean, I just do it remotely from home. I've got loads of gear here, so I do it from home, and we pre-record it, and yeah, it's just great. It's called New Noise, and yeah, it is sometimes it's new noise, sometimes it's old noise, but yeah, it's just noise that I like. So and it's really great. They've kind of given me the freedom to kind of play what I want, and that's really nice. It's just not, do you know what? It's just nice to sit in a room for an hour listening to a bunch of tracks that I like, and quite enjoy like creating little Spotify playlists that then I can do the show from. So yeah, no, it's been really, really fun doing that.
Excellent. So they're a community station or a commercial station?
Well, I think kind of we're halfway in between. I think they do have like, they obviously make some money from advertising and stuff. But yeah, I think, it's a sort of a little bit of a hybrid of both. I think, I guess I would say they're probably, you know, at some point in time they will become a full commercial station, because they sort of seem to be headed that way.
Excellent. Yeah.
Steve might be too modest to mention, but Steve's presented himself with a local Radio Clatterbridge.
Amazing.
I was tuning in on Friday coffee club show.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 13 odd years now, like, you know, so yeah, I'm well used to it. So that's why I'm interested, and I was asking about radio.
Fantastic. No, I've really enjoyed it. It's been when they asked me to do the show initially, I was a little bit nervous about doing a show on my own, because I mean, all the podcasts I work on, generally do it with a collaborator, and I was the same thing. I thought, well, I should probably do this with someone else, because I don't know if I've got the courage to do it on my own. And then eventually I just thought, you know what, I am going to do it on my own, and then just wing it, as we all are doing. And it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, I hope people listening to it, I mean, I don't know if they are or not, but I'm having a ball doing it. So that's the main thing, isn't it?
Excellent. Brilliant. So you appeared at Glastonbury, didn't you, with your band? Is that right? Yeah.
Long time ago. Yeah,
sounds brilliant.
I mean, yeah, it was an amazing. Obviously, it's an amazing experience, as you can imagine. Like, I'd never been to the festival before, and obviously, you know, you see it on TV every year and stuff. And it's quite a mad. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but it's quite a surreal experience going to Glastonbury. Anyway, it's so huge, so many people, and it takes you like 45 minutes to walk from one section of the estate to the other, and it's such a huge thing. But yeah, obviously getting to play was very exciting, and it was back in the year 2000. David Bowie headlined the Sunday night, so there was a quite high. The caliber of people playing was obviously very high. But we played on the new band stage, which I think is probably now the John Peel stage. I mean, we weren't very well known. We sort of blagged the gig. We had a management company at the time. The management company at the time we had were doing quite a lot of stuff with the dance tent, and they said, "Oh, we've got this band from Brighton. Could you just slip them on the bill? Like, we'll sort out we'll sort out all these big dance acts for your dance tent if you just slip this little rock band on." So we kind of blagged our way in, but it was So and the Friday night, so because we thought there's no one's going to come and see us, we were on sort of 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So we actually littered the whole site with flyers and stuff. And we ended up getting a pretty decent crowd. So it was great from that point of view. And we played all right, and had a great weekend. It was just a fantastic experience. After playing as well, it's just nice to go and watch a bunch of other bands play. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Especially Bowie.
Excellent.
Definitely.
I've been dining off that. I've been dining off it ever since.
I bet. Yeah. Hey, that's something you never forget in a hurry. That is, appearing in a glass. Way that's up there, isn't it?
Yeah. You know how like marathon runners like to tell you that they've run a marathon? It's a bit like that with me with Glastonbury.
Brilliant. Just changing the subject a bit. Can you tell us about your inspiration to start writing the award-winning fiction? Your first of many children's stories. There's a line in my bathroom, published back in 2010. What put you on the road of writing fiction? Had you always been interested in working as a writer?
No, it really was coming off the back of doing the band stuff, really. I mean, I think when the band kind of broke up, just sort of looking to do some other creative things. I always needed like creative outlets in one way or another. And so, I mean, I'd been writing lyrics and stuff for the band as well as music. So I think like poetry and writing was clearly there. And I think like, the only GCSE I passed was English. So maybe I was always predestined to do something with writing. But so I think off the back of doing lyrics and stuff, I thought I'd quite like to get into maybe writing some poetry and stuff. And I did a little sort of self-published poetry book, which I did for like charity. And then when I found out my wife was pregnant with our first child, I just kind of had this like inkling that I wanted to do something for him. And at first it was like, maybe I'll write him a song or do like that. And then I thought that might be a bit naff. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll write a children's book, and then started to sort of investigate what was on the market and have a look and see what was around. And I remember going to a little charity shop in this little town called Lewes where I worked, and I was sort of stuck for ideas. And I remember seeing a book by an author called Shel Silverstein. And Shel Silverstein was a great lyricist. He wrote stuff for loads of artists. His most famous song was A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So he wrote the lyrics. He wrote the lyrics for that, which is a great song.
Yeah.
But he did lots of nonsense poetry, and he did illustrations, a bit Spike Milligan-esque. But he's huge in the US. He's not so well known in the UK. But anyway, I found this book, and I just took it off the shelf. It was in mint condition, and I started reading it, and I just ideas started buzzing, and I remember running back to work, and I kind of wrote my first picture book story that over my lunchtime and on post-it notes and bits of receipt and stuff, and then just decided to, I wasn't going to do anything with it. Then decided I'll just send it out, see if I get some feedback, and lo and behold, just got lucky. A publisher wanted to put it out, and kind of the rest is history to a certain extent. But yeah, so that's how it kind of started.
Okay, who does the illustrations? Does the publishers, did they pass them on to an illustrator, or is there somebody that you know?
Yeah, no. So yeah, the illustrators are always commissioned by the publishers. So they tend to have, the publishers kind of have an idea of how they want it to look, and they do lots of consultations with sales teams and all that, and then they sort of find the ideal partner for you. So you very rarely get to meet illustrators when you're doing a book. So, you might share a couple of emails or something, but that's kind of it. It's quite a separate thing, really. So yeah, you're kind of beholden to what their vision is. So it's where it becomes a real collaboration in a way, but also very separate.
Yeah, you've done some non-fiction work as well, haven't you? Is it Why It's Fine to Falter and Fail and How to Pick Yourself Up Again, that were published by Quadrille, I think it is. So how did you feel doing non-fiction work as opposed to fiction? Did you prefer fiction or?
Well, that book came about because I do a podcast called Blank with my friend Jim Daly, which we've been doing since 2018. And I think it was just before lockdown. So yeah, about 2020. Yeah, beginning of 2020, we had this meeting with Quadrille, and we sort of had an idea for a book that was sort of based on the podcast, because we noticed very soon on in the process of doing the podcast that there was lots of different themes that were coming up around the idea of blankness, which is how the podcast started, and how that meant different things to different people. So for some people, blankness was public failure, or for some it was social anxiety, and others it was grief, loss, sleep deprivation, whatever it was to that particular person. And I thought, and Jim and I thought, this could be quite a good book, kind of a self-help book in a way, but also a chance for Jim and I to talk about our own experiences with these particular subjects, and then use some of the transcript from episodes with some of these high-profile guests that we could then kind of illustrate what these themes meant to people. So that's kind of how it came about. And we kind of littered the book also with anecdotal research and little sort of stories and stuff. And it was really, really interesting. And I really loved the process of writing something non-fiction. It kind of put more of a journalistic head on and researching really interesting topics. I mean, like, for example, Jim and I sort of shared some of those anecdotal stories, but there was one, funny enough, about a radio DJ who had done a wake-a-thon. So we had a whole chapter about sleep deprivation, and there was this guy in the 70s who did like 100 hours he stayed awake for on radio. It led to psychosis. So he when he was DJing and doing his show, he was totally fine, but when he had any kind of like loo breaks or just to have something to eat, he would see hallucinations of things and mice in his shoes and all sorts of things. And it was a really fascinating story. Yeah, it's just crazy. But so get your 7 hours a night, basically, because you could start to sort of go mad, quite frankly. So yeah, so stuff like that was really fascinating, and to be able to sort of pick out these interesting stories to illustrate some of the things that we talk about on the podcast.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we spoke to many authors and about how they've coped in the early days with their early work and getting a publisher, for example. A lot of people have gone independent and published themselves. How did you connect with your traditional publisher in the early days? Did you find it a big struggle, or did it come easy to you?
I was quite I remember just kind of, I guess it was when I suppose it was like 2010-ish. Yeah. So I think I was just quite forensic about finding out information on like what publishers were looking for certain things. And there's a great book called The Writers and Artists Yearbook, which
Oh,
I tell anyone who's like into writing and you're trying to get into the publishing industry is to buy. It's like the Bible of publishing. So I remember getting a copy of that and having a look through and seeing what publishers would be best to send to for my particular style of work. And then just emailed, blasted out emails here, there and everywhere, hoping that and praying that I would get a reply or a response. And most of the time I didn't, but you kind of only need one yes, don't you? So that was it. So and since then, obviously, you kind of had that one book published and then you think, oh, I've made it, but then you have countless other rejections until the next one comes along. So it's never a golden ticket. Sometimes when you even getting a first publishing deal, you still have to keep working at it and resubmitting stuff and sending stuff to commissioning, because stuff, particularly publishing, it just changes all the time what people are looking for. So so it's an interesting thing, but I always think, like, if you're in a position and you've got a manuscript and you're ready to go with it, just get it out there to as many people as possible.
So you've got a role as an ambassador as well, haven't you? A celebrity guest blogger supporting ActionAid UK. So tell us a little bit about that role.
Yeah, so I was approached a few years ago by ActionAid just to help with some promotion online. Obviously with having a significant following, you kind of get asked to do these things now and again. And I mean, the opportunity just grew. We started doing a project together, which was around kind of children's writing and stuff. And then, I've just been supporting them ever since. And I've done a few events for them, like around the London Marathon Fulham a few years ago. And then I've done a few other fundraising events. And they're an amazing charity. They sort of support women and children in poverty all around the world, actually, not just in the UK, but anywhere where there's any crisis of any sort, they're there on boots on the ground helping and stuff. So they're a phenomenal charity, and just really, really proud to be help do my bit for them, really. But I recommend anyone go and check out what they're doing.
Yeah, excellent. It's probably quite rewarding to do things like that, I would think. The little bits I do is probably nothing in significance to what you do, but brilliant.
No, it's great. And like I say, I mean, I don't do that. I try and help them where I can, and obviously there's amazing staff that work for the charity doing all sorts of amazing, incredible things, and they go, like I say, they go all around the world helping people out. So I'm a very insignificant cog, but if there's little things I can do to help promote what they're doing, then that's what I try and do.
Excellent. You mentioned your own podcast, Blank, with Jim Daly, and another one, A Little Bit of Positive, alongside Julia Bradbury. Have you had some big names on there on your podcasts, special guests?
Well, Blank, we have a lot of well-known guests. The one with Julia, we finished doing that a couple of years ago, actually. That one was kind of more, we kind of did that mainly over lockdown, but that was kind of talking about very positive experiences and people doing positive things. But Blank, we have a lot. We've been really lucky with the kind of guests we've had on, people like Louis Theroux, John Monson, Stephen Fry, Dawn French.
Wow.
I could go on, John Motson. All sorts of amazing people. And that's what I've talked about earlier with the book and stuff. But that's been brilliant. I love it. We do it we record every Friday. Obviously we used to do it in person. We now do it remotely, like everyone else does now. It's, for Jim and I, it's our little therapy session every week. We get to talk to these amazing people about their lives and their careers, and how they navigate difficult moments, which is kind of what the Blank sort of theme is, really. It's just trying to get through those difficult moments in life and how they do it. And it's always really it's startling and exciting to hear, and very poignant at parts sometimes when people are telling us about their life stories. It's it's a lovely thing. And I love podcasting in general. I've just starting another one with my friend Sophie, who's a conservation artist, and it's called Unquestionable. That starts in a month or so, and we've just done a bunch of recording for that. So podcasting is just fantastic. I love it. I love having connecting with people and having really open conversations. It's it's a really, really fun and enjoyable thing.
No, we appreciate it as well.
I'm just going to ask, what's the difference with your new podcast? Is it a slightly different angle or a different approach?
So this new one is about it's about the unquestionable truths around human nature, psychology, mental health, relationships. So it's it sort of touches on things like self-development, and well-being. But yeah, certainly that's the kind of space we're looking at. And it's really been, you know, we've had some fantastic guests on already. A couple of days ago we interviewed David Baddiel all about religion. So it's, you know, it's kind of big topics, but like hopefully done in a way that everybody can understand and have takeaways from, you know.
Excellent. Just moving on to going back to filming and TV rights, things like that. Have you been approached, or have you had any approaches to make films out of any of your books, for example, or by the looks of it, looks like it?
I have. I mean, it's. I mean, obviously, films are an incredibly difficult thing to get off the ground. There's so many stars have to align to make the work, and we've dabbled with a few things. I mean, my first picture book, The Fearsome Beastie, I worked with an animation company it must be about 6 or 7 years ago, on trying to get something made with that, and either the finances ran out, so that didn't get made, unfortunately, although we've got a lovely little kind of 3-minute reel of stuff that they made. And then more recently been trying to get my first novel, 152 Days, made into a film. We've written a script, myself and another screenwriter called Elizabeth Morris written a script, and we've been working with some producers developing it. But yeah, it just takes so long to get these things off the ground. They say for an independent movie it's between like 5 and 15 years to get it to be made. Wow. So we're kind of 18 months into a process that could last 15 years, quite possibly. So but it's you know, it's really interesting. Obviously I'm moving into an industry that I don't really know much about, but I'm kind of learning all about it. I'm kind of helping to produce a bit, so it's been interesting journey so far. It's very perilous and tricky, and obviously there's huge amounts of money often involved in big projects like this. So so hopefully at some point in time something of mine will be turned into a film of some sort. But do you know what, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed the process of adapting my work into screenplay. It's learning a new skill for me, and so that part of it, the process of that. And to be honest, with all the projects I do, you know, I say this to so many people, it's not about the outcomes, it's not about the gold at the end of the rainbow. It's actually doing it. The process of the journey of actually making these things is the most exciting bit, really, and the thing that you kind of got to take away from it. So no matter what happens with this thing in the future, I've loved creating this screenplay, and you know, if it gets made, that will be a bonus.
Yeah, touch wood. I'm touching wood here. You mentioned the new podcasts. What are you working on at the moment, writing wise? Are you working on another children's book, another non-fiction, maybe another novel?
I've been really like concentrating on the screenwriting and the script writing. I'm actually sort of putting together another screenplay, an original screenplay. I've adapted 2 of my books as scripts, and then like that animation project, I'm reworking the script on that. I've just done a script, 6 episodes for there's a company called the Little Angel Theatre, who is a puppet theatre in Islington, and they've started doing online video short films, and one of my books, Little Bell on the Moon, we've adapted into a sort of 6-part film, which will be sort of live action with puppetry in between, so like sort of animated puppetry. So yeah, that's been really lovely. So I've been kind of into that really mainly in the last few months, but I've got another novel that I'm doing with Unbound, who I've done a couple of books with. So yeah, that I'm kind of, that's kind of finished. So yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing writing wise.
You've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah. Finally, from me, I know you touched on this before. I'm going to ask you what advice you would give to a would-be writer who's writing a book for the first time. I know you touched on this with the book that you about publishing, but what other advice would you give to a novice who's doing it for the first time?
Well, I think the main thing is to keep actually writing, like continually like producing stuff, whether it's writing or making music or creating a film or whatever it might be, whatever creative thing you're working on, is to keep doing that. Because I think generally, like, the more you do it, it's like flexing a muscle in some way, like going to the gym, like you're strengthening those things. So I think if you're a writer, the more you write, the better you'll get. And then with regards to kind of getting your work out there, like I say, get something like the copy of the Writer's Heart yearbook, or connect with other creatives on social media, and you know, maybe join a writers group if it's writing in particular. If you're a musician, maybe like play with other people. I think it's all about that, knowing that actually a lot of creative things are about collaboration. Because even if you're a sole writer, for example, once you get to the publishing stage and you're working with editors and sales teams and designers, and also it is a collaboration of sorts. So I think just get used to that kind of thing. I think, yeah, if you're a writer, I think if you can get feedback for your work, it's really useful. So yeah, maybe join a local writers group or something. And then just get your work out there, really. You know, we live in a golden age of getting content out. You know, we've got things like social media and TikTok and blogs, and, you know, create your own website, whatever. You know, there's an opportunity to get your work out there in some form.
Excellent. Yeah, good advice. Yeah, it's interesting to get everyone's opinion of different people. Everyone says something slightly different or puts a different angle on it. So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
No, my pleasure.
Giles, our time's caught up with us, but it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you giving us some of your precious time to chat with us.
Oh no, I appreciate you asking me on. Thanks so much. It's been lovely to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been brilliant. Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. But for now, Giles, cheers, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
cheers,
you.
Terry.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Steve. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.